Are you seriously telling me? That's just a leprechaun. Nah, don't even try, man. Don't even try. Hey guys, what's up? Decline here. If you're new to the channel, we talk about loneliness and self-improvement. The light, the dark, the struggle. Today, I'm talking about Wheat Waffles' video titled The Worst Dating Advice You'll Hear, Debunking the Red Pill. We are focusing on the second part of the video about gym. Wheat Waffles describes 4 types of characteristics he believes guys with those characteristics shouldn't go to the gym, and it'll make things worse for them. It'll reduce their attractiveness and be a looks min instead of a looks max. Firstly, short guys. We don't say the man *** word on this channel because YouTube doesn't like it. Lanky guys who are tall and skinny and claim to struggle putting on muscle, putting on weight, so probably hard gainers. Guys with a poor frame, bad proportions, genetics, etc. And guys with a bad face. So we'll go through each of those 4, break it down, tell you why he's wrong. Chapters in the description if you want to skip ahead. So why am I coming to this video today? Well, I'm a short, small guy, small frame, 5'4", 54 kilos and skinny fat with a belly, and I can't get laid obviously. And now I'm trying to finally take gym seriously for once. Gonna try and build some muscle to see if I can escape loneliness finally. And gyms are open back up now that everything's open, and I'm getting old. It's time for action. Clock is ticking. I'm 29. It's way too late. Everybody in the comments, blackpill, is telling me no, don't even bother. It won't work for you. Your height, your face, your frame, genetics, a million reasons not to try. They're limiting factors, people are telling me. Bottlenecks that you can never get past, and it'll just make you look worse. I think it's just wrong, and everyone should try. The vast majority of guys can improve their looks and desirability, and therefore outcomes with girls by getting fit, specifically adding muscle and getting lean. Firstly, a bit about Wheat Waffles. I'm not a fan of Wheat Waffles at all. I think he's like a lot of black pillars, a massive genetics coper who blames everything on genetics. I don't find any appeal in that. It's not factual. It doesn't really seem that logical or rational. It just can't convince me. And it's just pseudoscience, a lot of charts, clickbaity thumbnails, fast talking with absolutism and lack of nuance. You're all doomed. Everyone is doomed. There's no way you can possibly escape. Give up. Unless you give me some money, of course. And see, that's Wheat Waffles' modus operandi. He tries to bring a lot of normal guys down and make them think it's over for them, even when they have a chance. Any reasonable person would assume so, because most normal guys do actually get laid. And then he sells his face rating and looksmaxing advice to offer them salvation. They just have to know, they're so desperate to know that they are a normie. They're not the guys he's talking about, right? And things are going to turn out okay for them. They need that reassurance. They have to get the face rating to calm their nerves. Or if things aren't good, they need to know what to do about it. So Wheat Waffles creates this need and effectively scares people into getting face ratings. It's a good business idea, fair enough. Everybody's trying to hustle. He's successfully making money out of the black pill, good for him. He's making good views, blowing up, great. I'd like to make money and be a big YouTuber too, so I do have to watch the successful guys closely. But it is unethical. He's making money out of telling guys to give up and kind of tricking them into paying for these face ratings. You could say it's a scam, I guess. And it's pretty toxic, in my opinion. Let's get into it. Height. So first up, Wheat Waffles is excluding a huge proportion of men, just telling them to give up. For 40% of men, by his own admission, even guys who are very close to average, or literally average, since the average male height is around 5'9" in much of the Anglosphere, like Australia, for example. But it's obvious that most people, average guys, do get laid. So, like, where is this issue, you know? Stop being delusional, man. And plenty of successful influencers are out there who are shorter and have good looking girlfriends. But look at someone like Frank Zane. He was 5'9". And is that like not worth going gym? Like, if that's what you can look like at 5'9", not everybody can look like Frank Zane, obviously, but Wheat Waffles is telling us that just don't even bother. Don't even bother. You know, this guy, he's just overcompensating. Frank Zane is overcompensating. And Franco Columbu, he was 165 centimeters. He's just a leprechaun. According to Wheat Waffles. According to Wheat Waffles, he's just a joke. But you gotta be kidding me. Look at him next to Arnold. They were best mates. They were looking pretty good together. And they knew how to take photos together. And both look good. And he's not just like being mogged all the time. And he looks pretty good in his own right. Obviously, he's got lots and lots of muscle. Like, are you seriously telling me, that's just a leprechaun? Nah, don't even try, man. Don't even try. It's just a ridiculous generalization, you know? This problem, he says, is that it's overcompensating. But I don't think that concept actually exists. Like, there's no proof that girls actually think that way. This is just what Wheat Waffles thinks. This is how men in the blackpill scene, in the manosphere, think. And are we trying to impress Wheat Waffles and other men in the blackpill and manosphere? Now, a lot of you do want to impress those men, and now I don't know if it's because you want to get down on your knees for Wheat Waffles. See, personally, I'm not a fan of gingers, maybe because a ginger stole my first girlfriend, and he was my best friend, but you know, you can do that. I'm not opposed to that, but if you actually want to attract girls, you need proof that girls think this way. Like, we don't need to know what Wheat Waffles is attracted to and what other men think of you. Like, other men think of mogging and you have to mog everyone, but, like, you know, there's a reason that all those big hyper muscle guys are popular in the gay scene. It's just like, no, I'm going too far into that. But the thing is, we're not trying to impress Wheat Waffles, you know? I think you've got to work with what you have and max out your stats. Girls should, all given factors being equal, prefer a better looking body than a worse body on the same guy. Like, would they rather me as skinny fat, or would they rather me as lean, or would they rather me as lean with a lot of muscle? To me, that answer is pretty obvious. And we're also competing against all the other guys in our cohort, in our category. You're not just competing against those top 1% giga chads. You're competing against all the average guys, all the lower tier guys, and so many of them have girlfriends. A lot of high tier normies actually have options, and you have to compete against all of them, and maybe you can get a good outcome. And look, the truth is that girls are just human beings like anyone else with desires, and they do value things, various factors like face and body, and they're all independent, you know, like obviously they have synergies and stuff, but if you improve something, it's going to be better. Who cares about this overcompensating? It's a fictional concept, you know. Only guys think about that stuff. We know girls like various characteristics like a V-taper, a good waist to shoulder ratio. They like various muscles, good abs, good glutes. Some of them like big arms, legs, shoulders, all sorts of things. Just like they'd appreciate good teeth on any guy, or good hair, or a good face. All those characteristics are going to improve the way you look if they're good. You're just trying to max out your stats, get more points. Me, I can be short and skinny, or skinny fat, or I can improve and be muscular and lean, and with the same height and the same face, well, a bit leaner face, and you can increase your dominance to a higher level than before, even if you have a low baseline, and you can increase your aesthetics. No evidence whatsoever that overcompensating is actually a thing in how women perceive men. Now, one thing I've got to add is that mogging isn't the be-all and end-all. You might want to be able to have a certain level of dominance, but you don't have to mog the entire world to get laid. If you did, then none of these average height, average looking guys would be getting laid, ever. But most guys do get laid. Women also value aesthetics and proportions rather than just sheer size. For example, I mentioned the V-taper and stuff like abs, and specific ratios for that sort of thing, like the V-taper that women prefer. And other proportions like wrist to bicep ratio can also give an impression of size and strength, even if you're not physically big. In fact, the very act of building muscle itself is about choosing something that's a greater indicator of masculinity and dominance than simply increasing size. Because if all you wanted to do was be bigger than everyone else, you could just be fat. But we know that's obviously not an optimal strategy, even though fat guys do get laid, but that's not an optimal strategy. In most cases, you're going to be showing off your body solo, not around people getting mocked. Shirtless pictures on Tinder and Instagram. Like, you don't have 5 big 6-foot guys mogging you in every photo. And no, you don't have to look like you lift in a shirt. That's the point of those platforms. Short guys can show off their physique in the best light possible. You can have the best camera angles, the best lighting, and the best backgrounds and everything, so that you actually look good. If you can't win the mogging competition, you show off the things where you can look good. Your muscularity, your leanness, and your proportions. There was a recent video Greg Duchet made about a Korean video with body fat, about guys with shirt on and shirt off, what do girls prefer. The higher body fat guys won with the shirt on, but you take the shirt off and the shredded guys win, even if they don't mog in pure size. And that's why everybody says don't use Tinder, don't use Instagram or anything like that. But we need these platforms where we're not being mogged, because if you go on Bumble, you're going to get mogged with the height filters. If you go out in real life, you're going to get mogged when you have your shirt on. You're never going to beat those other guys unless you're like an IFBB pro, or unless you are a 6'2" giga mogger. Like, yeah. Also, when you're alone on a date with a girl, and when you get into the bedroom, if you're mogging her, that's probably good enough. But it might not always be necessary, you know, plenty of guys with taller girlfriends, etc. It's almost a cliche for short guys to have taller girlfriends. Like, me personally, I've talked to girls online who are taller than me, who have been interested in me at times, and I went on a date with someone a similar height to me. So it's not that important. And you know, the girls that I actually want, that if I was desirable, I'd actually try and go for, like, they're the small petite Asian girls who are probably like 40 kilos. Now, if I became muscular, like 60 kilos shredded, 65 kilos shredded, I would definitely mog them, and it'd probably be alright. Now, some short, stocky guys can still be moggers because of their wide frame. That's quite common. Flex Lewis is huge. He mogs Phil Heath, even though he's like really short. And you've seen that lip biting video where the reporter's biting her lip and getting all hot and flustered over him. And those guys actually tend to do decent with women. For me, no, I'm not a mogger. Like I said, I'm not going to try and win that battle. I'll have to go for aesthetics. I'm going to have a different strategy for building muscle than a 6'2" guy who only cares about mogging people, or a stocky guy the same height as me. I'll need something balanced and proportionate, just like the greatest chads. That's why I look up to someone like Conor Murphy or Jeff Side, or like a lot of men's physique competitors. They have the delts, they have the abs, everything. Like, I need something balanced and aesthetic with good proportions. Yeah, so I definitely think that these platforms like Tinder, where you're showing yourself shirtless, and Instagram as well, stuff like that, you gotta use those to your advantage. You can improve your dominance to more than it was before, and you're getting better. Like, girls are gonna see that as a positive generally. Likely, you're never actually going to overdo it naturally, and even if you're enhanced, I doubt most people would get to the point of overdoing it. Now let's talk about these guys with bad proportions, etc. The guy on the left, that clearly looks really wrong. I searched up what people say about him, and apparently he's injecting something, so probably synthol or something. You won't get V-lines like that by working out. It's just not natural. So there's no point in pointing to him and saying, oh, bad genetics, because it's most likely not genetics that got him that messed up look. Hip, waist, shoulder ratio. You really do not know any of that until you get lean. Men tend to store fat in the belly, so if you're not lean, you'll generally have a big waist until you get lean. Me, for example, my waist is about 30.5 inches now, but when I'm lean, it's 26.5 inches. And I could probably go a little bit leaner than that, maybe down to 26 if I was full on shredded. And stuff like clavicle length, you can increase your shoulder size with muscle. Lats help with the V-taper, and also increase chest ratios, like chest to waist ratio with chest work and lat work. You look at the men's physique competitors, they're not stepping onto the stage with no muscle. They have a huge superhero-like V-taper, probably beyond conventional attractiveness, that is crafted from muscle. Just like the men who play superheroes, they build up the muscle to give them that width, that superhero look. And yes, they start with good genetics, but they built on what they had. And none of you, if you're not lean, you can't say anything about genetics. And these black pill people, they don't know anything about what genetics you actually have. You can't trust them, because they say if you can't get laid, it's because your genetics, and therefore your genetics are bad no matter what they actually are. So these people aren't going to actually analyze your genetics and give you an accurate idea of where you are and what you can achieve. You have to do it yourself, get lean, figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and actually build the muscle up and see how you go. And look, not everyone has the right ratios or proportions, but even if you're a blocky guy and not a V-taper guy, for example, you can still try and improve things. Like, you could increase your delts, or look at Derek More Plates More Dates. He has really bad ab genetics, so he focuses on his delts. He is successful as a fitness influencer, making lots of money, and he has a girlfriend, I think. I think he's had a lot of girls in the past, but I'm not really sure. Look at guys with very short limbs. I believe Lee Priest has short limbs. That made it actually really good for bodybuilding. Also, he was said to have narrow clavicles, which these black pillars, they'll tell you, is really bad. And he was able to build on lots and lots of muscle and compete with some of the giants. Like, he won against Ronnie Coleman a few times because that was a good side of his genetics. Like, short limbs were good in that case. Phil Heath, who won Mr. Olympia, he's a very respected bodybuilder and is also said to have narrow clavicles. And You know, some people are really unlucky, but the majority of people have reasonable proportions, and they're just being hidden by fat or lack of knowledge. I'm not saying you're going to look amazing like the top bodybuilders and influencers, and certainly you're not going to look like them natty, but you can probably do well enough to get laid. If you have average genetics or even bad genetics, you can probably improve yourself enough to get laid. Yeah, you need to see for yourself what you like when you lean, what your insertions are like, your measurements, ratios, how things are shaped, how they look. You've got to see for yourself. Don't listen to these people on the internet who don't know anything. Maybe find some people who do know something, like an expert bodybuilder or something, not a pizza delivery driver. Because you know your looks expert on here, Wheat Waffles, is just a pizza delivery driver. Whatever these proportions are, don't think that it's over just because you have some characteristic, whether it's narrow clavicles or short limbs or long limbs or bad ab genetics or whatever, or a wide waist. Like, you don't really know. You don't know any of that until you get lean. You don't know any of that until you really build the muscle. And Wheat Waffles and all the black pillars don't actually know anything about you and your body and your potential. Now, onto lanky guys. Wheat Waffles claims no matter how much they go to the gym, no matter how much you eat, they remain skinny. There is no evidence for this. The truth is, calories in, calories out. Unless you've got like a disease or something, you just need to put in calories. If you eat a large enough surplus, you are definitely going to gain weight. Tall guys tend to have more fat-free mass than a similar sized short guy, so they're going to have higher caloric expenditure and they'll need to eat more to generate a surplus. For example, as a short, small frame guy with not much muscle, I'm 54 kilos, probably over 20% body fat. I probably have fairly low caloric expenditure. I don't eat much and I still get skinny fat. But a very skinny 6-foot guy who weighs the same as me would have a higher fat-free mass, even if he's not particularly muscular. Therefore, he'll have a higher TDEE, daily caloric expenditure, so he'd need to eat more. And that's why it seems like he's skinny but he can't gain weight. And the truth is, people lie about their calories and what they're taking in, no matter how much they say they're actually taking in all these calories. It's not true. So what they really need to do is be honest about their caloric intake and their macros and stuff. Because it really is that simple. Calories in, calories out. No such thing as can't gain weight unless you have a serious illness. And we're not talking about those dudes, we're talking about normal guys here. If you're tall, you're just going to have to eat a lot, that's just how it is. This fast, slow twitch thing, this doesn't make any sense at all. These are obviously athletes optimizing for their sport. Like a marathoner, you don't want to build that extra muscle. If he wanted to build the muscle, he probably could. Most people are still going to be able to build some level of muscle, unless there's some severe medical or genetic condition. But those aren't the people we're talking about here. You need proper training and proper nutrition. Most people don't have either. Even if they've been training for years and they claim they're eating right, they're just not. And why are we talking about athletes? They are not bodybuilders. Their goal is to optimize for their sport. You don't have the same goals as them. It's because Wheat Waffles was a track and field guy, and I guess he failed on that. He's not at the Olympics, is he? So, well, he failed in his thing, and now he's trying to convince everybody, don't build muscle, because he was a track and field athlete. If you haven't seen John Anthony's video where he kind of uncovered that information, yeah, that was a good video. Not really ethical though. Now, of course, most people won't look like a top Instagram influencer natty, and some people are genetically gifted, but But you know, most people can build some muscle, and it should be enough to get laid. Ziz is a good example of what a so-called lanklet can achieve. He was apparently small and skinny, but in reality, he just hadn't finished growing yet, and he didn't have any muscle. He actually did have good genes, good muscle insertions, and the ingredients to look good. He ended up looking aesthetic, he ended up getting girls, and he ended up becoming famous. But people would have said he's just a lanklet, just a skinny kid, a narrow kid. But he believed in himself, and, well, of course a lot of juice as well was involved, but he's this typical lanklet skinny kid that grows up to be really aesthetic and a big mogger, looking really good. So definitely don't listen to people who say you can't build muscle because you're lanky. That's just a joke. Like, there might be a lot of teenagers out there watching Wheat Waffles videos getting discouraged, and you never know, you could be the next influencer or something. Like, you don't know, you can't listen to Wheat Waffles and these black pillars about your genetics, because they don't know your potential. It's just like some guys are fat and you wouldn't even think about them, and then you see what they built, what they had under the fat, what their potential really was. And the face too. When people lose weight and they get lean, their face can change a lot. Like, you don't know your potential at all, and you can't let these people tell you your potential. We got to keep driving that into your people, just so you understand. Now, gym selling. For the final category, Wheat Waffles is saying, don't bother if your face is bad, it will only make things worse. Firstly, getting lean means less facial fat, so you've got to get lean first before you know what your face looks like. And I mean get proper shredded, like full on six pack and everything. For most guys, it will, in most cases, improve their face. And most people don't really know what they actually look like in the face until they get lean. You might not actually be that ugly. I believe women value both the body and the face. Like, why do you think ugly tall guys get laid? Like, even if they got a really bad face, women still like height, which is a characteristic of the body, and they'll overlook other characteristics for that. Just like women do like muscle, and so in most cases they'd still be able to appreciate a good body even if someone's face isn't perfect. Anyway, like, I know there are women who find my face tolerable, and if I had a good body to add on to that, they'd probably like me more and maybe actually be willing to date me. There's just no evidence for this theory of face being such a severely limiting factor that you should give up on everything. It's just not like that. The guy on the left, see, what Wheat Waffles is effectively saying here is that his face, even when lean, is so bad, don't even bother working out. And it makes it even worse. Makes his whole thing even worse, just overcompensating and all that. Not gonna work. His name is Kumail Nanjiani. I don't know about the pronunciation. He was an actor in the show Silicon Valley. I haven't watched it myself. A lot of people have. It's a comedy. He was kind of fat, had a lot of facial fat in the face. He didn't like how the show joked about him being ugly. He said there were entire storylines around it. That stuff does get to you when you're like, oh, that's not a great feeling. Eventually, he landed a role in a Marvel series, Eternals. He was playing a superhero. The first South Asian superhero, apparently. Now, he did get the role before he chose to bulk up, and he was going to be that nerdy guy. But he chose to get fit, and the director went with it. So, he's decent looking, actually. He's happily married to a decent looking girl, but that's been for a very long time, even before he got ripped. So, he's not out here with us in the lonely guys community. You know, he was obviously doing alright for himself before. He changed his facial aesthetics. His face is a lot leaner, and he has a fairly masculine face now. Defined, angular, good jaw, he's got bones. Maybe he's not the most aesthetic, but he's alright looking, honestly. Even if Wheat Waffles doesn't think so. And previously he had a round fat face. It is way better now. And it changed a lot for him. People take him more seriously. He said, I shared that specifically to be like, hey, I needed to change how people saw me so I could have the type of opportunities that I was excited about. And those did happen, he said. Now I get those opportunities. I don't just mean action stuff. I mean like, now I get opportunities to play a normal guy. I was not seen as a normal guy before this. Now, the guy is not a joke. Jim absolutely increased his desirability and improved his career. Not just as a muscle man, but a normal guy. And see, Wheat Waffles would tell you, no, don't even bother, he's a joke now, he's overcompensating. He's not going to be taken seriously by anyone. But he improved his career prospects. And he's improved his profile a lot, you know. Like I said, he's getting normal roles now. He's respected as a normal guy now. Not just a joke, fat, funny guy. Not just a guy to make fun of. Despite all these flaws that Wheat Waffles probably says his face and maybe his bad ab genetics or something. I don't know. But I think it was mostly talking about his face. He was even cover of a clothing brand catalogue. Saks Man Fall 2021 style book. Looking pretty good there. Obviously he's helping them sell products, so that must mean something, that he is taken seriously and he is respected. He did get hate. Some of it is probably racism. People have pointed out that white actors don't get the same treatment. They are encouraged to get ripped and muscular. Now probably some of that's probably coming from Wheat Waffles too, and a lot of the black pillars, including those who encourage me not to try and build muscle, like some of the comments I received. But he got success regardless of what haters think. It improved his life, his career, his desirability, people's perceptions of him. If he listened to Wheat Waffles, he'd still be only getting cast as a comedic or joke character, a weak nerdy character, an ugly character, the fat guy with a fat face. Again, don't listen to what these so-called black pill looks experts, face raiders, looksmaxing advice people think about your face. They'll just tell you to give up, it's not worth it. And there's of course that conflict of interest. They're making you watch that video, telling you it's not worth it, so you'll buy their looks advice and face rating advice to tell you, yeah, you're actually okay. The guy in the middle, he's a YouTuber, Vegan Gains. He did actually get a girl, which Wheat Waffles acknowledges. Wheat Waffles doesn't think it's good enough, but look, not everyone wants to be a slayer or looks for the hottest girl, and even if they do, they don't necessarily tell everyone about it, what they're doing behind closed doors. But you know what, good for him if he's happy. I don't watch him myself, so I don't know the situation. You know, the breakup thing, getting dumped by her, and picking a girl like that who's not some stunner. Look, sometimes you fall in love with people who aren't the best. It happens. I know what that's like as a YouTuber. You've seen my recent videos. It happened to me. Like, I do think I fell in love with that girl who... I fell in love with a girl who I encountered very early in my time on YouTube. I was still under 2k subs back then. And you know, sure, I hope she'll come back, but things probably over by now. But, like, yeah, a lot of YouTubers, they're not necessarily going to go for the best girl that they can get, the best looking girl that they can get, just to show off to their viewers, you know. You make connections with these people you meet early on. And yeah, some guys do want to get the best looking girl they can and show off the best that they can, and well, you know, I don't know what kind of girls I'll get, if I'll get any girls, but look, don't discount the power of social media and being ripped on social media and muscular just because Vegan Gains' girlfriend isn't that great. Like, there is still power on trying to be muscular and ripped on the internet. And anyway, there's lots of guys who do have decent looking girlfriends. And you know what? The only girl from YouTube I've actually been on a date with was actually slim and young and hot, and you know, she was actually really hot. And like, and you know, I know what kind of girls have shown interest in me now in the present, so like, I'm not going to think, oh, just because Vegan Gains has this crappy girlfriend. You know, a lot of chads don't have fancy girlfriends and they go for below their leg. That's just how it is, you know? It doesn't say anything about the potential of these methods of looksmaxing or social media maxing, whatever. Anyway, Vegan Gains just looks normal. Obviously he looks bad in that lighting because it's green. Maybe the white balance is off or the lighting is just bad or something else. He looks boyish with a good hairline. The girl actually looks decent, kind of cute. And so she has OnlyFans. Well, great, she's making money. If I had a girl, I'd be making OnlyFans content with her for sure, if she was into it. Like, a lot of these tradcons don't like it because they want some pure girl. But, oh well, you know, what are you gonna do? It's not for everyone, I guess. But, is it really that bad of a way of making money? Look at Wheat Waffles. He's exploiting lonely men for money, with looks ratings, as well as the ads, scaring them into buying looks ratings, and making a lot of guys really sad and encouraging them to lay down and rot and ruin their lives. And he's making absolute bank. Like, he's probably making enough money to take this full time, and making money out of misery, out of bringing people down. And look at what happened with Wheat Waffles' biggest fan, who also had waffles in the name of his channel. That was very, very bad, and that's going to cause problems for everyone in this scene. And see, Wheat Waffles is running a really unethical game, you know? Like, so it's not like you can criticize these girls for getting their stuff out on the internet. See, we're all trying to hustle, get money, and get what we can, but I don't think Wheat Waffles is in a position to look down on OnlyFans girls and their partners. As for the egg guy, the vast majority of people are not the egg guy. Some people really don't look good and maybe they're beyond saving, but most aren't. Now, he doesn't have that good of a physique anyway. His biceps are barely bigger than his wrists. I think that's one problem. These guys are kind of narrow, but with large bones, and that's kind of what messes up their physique. Yeah, they're probably quite uncommon. Most people aren't going to be like that. And he has somewhat delts and veins, and he's lean with some ab definition V-lines, but that's all. This is not a men's physique competitor we're talking about. This is not an Instagram influencer body. He's not fully looksmaxed, you know? He's not really big or muscular at all, just lean and maybe goes to the gym a little bit. It's not enough. Just because you end the gym early and give up, you can't say Gymmaxxing doesn't work. And it's funny how he has the same phenotype as our boy Wheat Waffles, a ginger. Maybe that's why he picked him. Probably took some just shave it bro advice. You'll look like Jason Statham bro. And that probably made him even worse. I don't think that shaving is the right decision for him or most people. Better to rock the receding however you can, you know. And again, most people are not going to have that poor of a bone structure and being round in the face when lean. Most people do not look that bad, and there's no point in pointing to them. And when Wheat Waffles' whole thing is like, a large proportion of guys should just give up, and he's pointing to extreme examples like this guy. Most guys who Wheat Waffles and the blackpillers are telling to give up are not going to look like that. I think I've covered everything for now from the video. So there you have it. I've gone through and tried to talk about the different types of guys who Wheat Waffles and the blackpillers say don't go to the gym, don't bother. You know, all of these guys, most guys should go to the gym. It's gonna be worth it. You just can't listen to these people on the internet who don't know anything. As for me, look, I'm 5'4". I'm small frame, skinny fat. I'm pretty narrow, but I've seen what I look like when lean, and I was happy with it. And even though I'm still skinny fat, I'm starting to see some definition on my back, which I'm liking. And I think that I personally have a good foundation to build off, even as a very small, skinny guy. No, I'm not going to mug people. I'm not going to be bigger than people, physically bigger. The most I'm ever going to weigh is maybe 65 kilos or 70 kilos if I'm shredded and if I was not natty. But obviously I'm natty right now, so let's not talk about any of that stuff. But the point is, like, I believe I have decent proportions, and I'm gonna have a good waist to shoulder ratio, a good wrist to bicep ratio when I build enough muscle and when I'm super lean. And a lot of girls probably do think my face is okay, it's tolerable. Like, I'm not the ugliest person in the entire world. Now, obviously, I'm closer to the camera than I should be because it's easier to film this way, and my lighting setup isn't really set up to be further away. But yeah, like, obviously my face doesn't look that good in this position, but I'm just gonna do what I can. And keep in mind the power of social media. Like, I know that I can't beat a garden variety Chad going out in nightclubs or something, or in the real world, or I know that I need the help of social media, the power of social media and apps and stuff, which is why, yes, I'm gonna take pictures shirtless on Tinder with good lighting. I'm going to take pictures for Instagram. I'm going to be up here on YouTube showing my transformation, and I'm going to work on different types of videos trying to attract a bigger female audience and all sorts of things like that. And you use the social media as a multiplier. Like, you use the exposure, you use the opportunity to show who you are and what your body looks like to lots and lots of people, and you create the parasocial connection. You need to create a connection with your viewers. That's what putting out your emotions and feelings and things like that, and you make it feel like they know you and they have a connection with you. And a lot of streamers do that, and people watch them a lot just to have that connection. And a lot of streamers, and I assume vloggers too, do that, trying to form the parasocial connection, and people watch them and have a connection, a relationship with the person in the screen. That's what you're trying to create. And so then you try and win from that. You're using the exposure, the parasocial connection, and the opportunities to show yourself in like a good light, as opposed to just going outside with a shirt on and being mugged by everyone in existence, And the idea is it's going to multiply the opportunities compared to what I'd normally get. No, I'm probably not going to ascend to the same level as a Giga Chad in the real world, but with the power of the internet, maybe I can actually, like, not be alone anymore. Maybe that's possible. Who knows? Even if people tell me give up, like, they'll be like, give up, don't even try, but what am I supposed to do? This is actually content, at least I can talk about getting fit and stuff. And the alternative is I just come on here and talk about being alone every day because, well, I still have to talk about that. That's part of my thing. But, like, if I'm just doing the same thing all the time, like, that's not really going to be interesting, is it? And I can't keep on laying down and rotting, I've been through that stage in my life. There was a meme, a chart, and like looksmaxing is like the final stage, because for me, I went through all of these stages of freaking out, and then I was in that stage of wasting a lot of time and not really doing much, and now the clock's ticking, and now I've finally found my strength, and things are right that I can actually go out and try and looksmax and go to the gym regularly, and I'm gonna make this work, and hopefully I can get it to work. Like, I have not been in a good mood at all in the past few months. Been feeling absolutely terrible, absolutely heartbroken. I could barely eat for a while, and honestly my appetite still hasn't fully returned. But I'm feeling terrible, but I am still going to the gym regularly, and we're gonna try and get out. That's regardless of what people say, regardless of what people think. I've got to try, because this is my last chance. I don't have any time left, and yeah. Long video today, guys. Thank you if you stayed. Thank you so much for staying. Like, comment, subscribe. Maybe share this if you like it. And tell me what type of videos you like, what stuff you want to see. If you're new, stay around. Yep. Well, and I think we've covered everything. And of course, I've got Instagram, Discord, other contact methods in the About page. And that's all. Hopefully you like this type of video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.